back with Alex Prokop, a Russian-born, Los Angeles-based author of Now You See It, a very interesting book about how the media was manipulated by communist regimes. Welcome to Bare Facts, Alex.
Pleasure to be here, Jack.
I love the book, Alex. It's fun, it's scary. What, do you have to be clairvoyant to figure out what they were telling you was truth or just propaganda?
Well, that's the thing about communist propaganda. People knew they were being lied to. They knew they couldn't trust the papers or later television, so they developed a second nature for digesting the facts. This picture was originally taken shortly after the Bolshevik Revolution at one of Lenin's rallies. To Lenin's left, you see the friendly figure of Leon Trotsky, one of his closest comrades in the revolution. After Lenin's death, Trotsky fell out of favor with Stalin, and this is the version of the picture as it appeared in Soviet history books. Stalin's propaganda office simply airbrushed Trotsky out.
This is preposterous and disturbing. I don't know how you people put up with this for, what, 80 years, knowing you're being lied to?
Well, there is a huge difference in knowing you're being lied to and not knowing. If you do know, you find other ways to seek the truth. If you don't know, you take everything for granted and stop asking questions. Which is the ultimate goal of propaganda.
We could never get away with that in this country. People would be up in arms. That's why we have a program like Bare Facts, facts only, and you, the viewer, can make up your own mind.
How many cities did you do on your book tour?
7.
You're getting some serious exposure. It's good for you. It's good for the magazine. How's the new place?
It's empty. It's small.
I hate to rain on your parade, Alex, but I'm not exactly thrilled with your story idea.
Why not?
Your little immigrant stories are not going to bring the numbers the new owners are expecting.
What new owners?
They're buying us out. We're going corporate. I want you to take this home and look at it.
What is this?
A crossover idea. Something to give you the attention you deserve. McGuire.
Hey Joe, this is Alex. Listen, I need everything you got on the collapse of Building 7 of the World Trade Center. Yes, 9/11. Were there any headers? Okay, great. I'll see you in an hour. Beautiful, thanks.
There are 4 best angles of the collapse of Building 7. All have been shown on the networks. Now, I made this edit for you of all 4 angles. Synchronized.
You did this all in an hour.
Well, okay, whatever. I've had the footage for some time, but you're still going to pay me for a custom job.
How long have you been into 9/11?
Since 9/11. Okay. Here we go.
Play it one more time. That's one smooth collapse. How could this happen so symmetrically?
Nobody knows.
Why hasn't anybody seen this?
Everybody's seen this. It's been on all the networks, man. But they only showed it once, live. And that was it.
What's your take on this? Could there be something the government is not telling us about 9/11?
Could be, could be. But when the man says it's the Muslim brothers with box cutters, it's the Muslim brothers with box cutters. Know what I'm saying?
You know what I did after I watched that tape? I went to the library. And I checked out this little book, which also happens to be a bestseller. McGuire, have you seen any major or even a minor magazine dig into this story, or a newspaper? In 5 years, nobody, I mean nobody, tried to contradict the official line. You know why? Because it's a conspiracy theory. Last year, Mechanical Science magazine published an article debunking all of the 9/11 conspiracy theories. They disproved all of them, one by one.
I read that article. It was more like science fiction than mechanical science. Hey, Sally, can you send little Jimmy in here, please? I've had the 9/11 story on my mind for a long time, but I could never figure out how to bite it. Then the mechanical science piece came out. It was effective for a big, fat lie. But seeing this tape gives me an idea.
Hey, Alex. I almost didn't recognize you on TV the other night. It made you look good, man.
Jimmy, tell Alex what you dug up on that mechanical science article.
It was researched and written by the cousin of the Homeland Security chief.
Okay, so the article was a piece of propaganda. We are at war, we need propaganda.
Did you hear what you just said? Jimmy, did you hear what he said?
Never mind what I just said, you're upsetting me. You're also making me nervous.
Actually, I agree with you, Alex. I mean, the United States government has been paying the Iraqi press to publish propaganda pieces. This is nothing new.
Okay. Here's an idea. Compare, contrast the 9/11 report with facts you dig up. Jimmy here's the best fact checker we've got. If you screw up, he'll catch you, won't you, Jimmy? Let's see if the official story holds up. What do you say?
Hello? Yes, this is he. Oh, hello, Mr. Prokop. Yes. I sent the tape to your editor, and she said she would forward it on to you. That would be great. I'll see you tomorrow.
Why me?
Well, I'm not a writer. I'm not a journalist. I'm nobody. I'm just some guy with a theory.
I don't deal with theories, especially conspiracy theories.
Just look at the facts then. You already looked at the tape. You must have liked it, or you wouldn't be here talking to me.
Who are you?
A family man. I used to be a family man. My daughter died on the plane that crashed into the North Tower.
I'm sorry to hear that. And you don't believe that The hijackers were responsible for what happened that day?
Not the ones we were introduced to by the media.
Let me make this absolutely clear to you. I do not believe the government was responsible for 9/11.
I didn't say they were.
Don't you think that your personal loss may have skewed your perspective a little?
Mr. Prokop.
Alex.
Alex? I want to know what happened that day. I've done some research, okay? A lot of research. Please, take a look at it. If you still think it is just another conspiracy theory, I promise you'll never hear from me again. I want to know who really killed my daughter. That's all.
Cooper checks out. His daughter did die that day. Did you know that the families who accepted the insurance had to waive their right to bring any charges against our government? He turned them down. Went off the deep end for a while. Can you blame him? His wife left him. He sold his business. What was it? Some internet startup thing. Anyway, he's not a nut. I'm really impressed with his research, and I can tell that so were you.
Yeah. I'm impressed, just not convinced.
You don't have to be. All I'm asking is that you hit the road, knock on doors, feel things out, see if the report really makes sense.
Is this how you see me getting the attention I deserve as a conspiracy freak?
Come on. You just wrote a whole goddamn book on media manipulation.
McGuire, America is not the Soviet Union 70 years ago.
It's been
okay?
5 years since September the 11th. Today, you can't get an honest piece of political reporting done in this country. You want to cover war, they tell you where to go, what to write. You have scripted meet-the-press comedy routines. The White House press secretary is a former Bear Facts reporter. Your buddy Mahoney is a mouthpiece for the government. It's not about 9/11, Alex. It's about why we can't get simple questions answered. And if we don't ask those questions, they can appropriate an event like 9/11 to match anything they want to do. As an excuse for war, as an excuse to walk all over the Bill of Rights. Show me another democracy where people's phones are tapped without a court order. Alex, the corporation is taking over next month. They don't want controversy. This is probably the last chance we can do something solid, something for keeps, before we turn into the Ministry of Propaganda and end up like your father, misdirecting public
I'm not my
attention.
father, McGuire. Please don't bring him into this. It's cheap. Okay. Okay. You want objective reporting? I'll give you objective reporting, but no agenda.
If there's one person who could convince me that 9/11 was just some horrific terrorist attack, it would be you. And it would make me very happy, believe me.
2 weeks is an awful short time for this.
Take Cooper with you. He'll point you in the right direction. I'll pay his expenses.
Forgot Building 7.
People want to hear about icons, not footnotes. That's where the story is.
"8:46 a.m. An alleged American Airlines Flight 11, a Boeing 767, crashes into the North Tower between floors 93 and 99. Hundreds of gallons of jet fuel explode inside the building. 8:52, New York Fire Department arrives to begin a rescue mission.
When you entered the North Tower lobby, was there any damage there?
Yeah, all the marble paneling was blown off and all the windows were busted.
Well, the government explained that the damage was caused by a huge jet fuel fireball coming down the elevator shaft.
No, that wasn't it at all. You want to help me with that? In fact, there were no signs of a fire, no flames, no soot, just a lot of debris. It looked like a bomb had gone off.
A bomb?
Yeah. Well, that's what it looked like. Much later, we were on our way down. We must have been somewhere around the second floor when we heard a large explosion. Underground, somewhere in the garage area. It was strong. I mean, it blew the air right up. You could feel it on our faces.
An explosion from below?
Yeah. Directly below the building. It sent this huge wall of dust up the shafts. We were choking, and then directly above us, we heard another series of explosions, like someone was sending off charges or something, one by one, and then the floor started collapsing. Bam, 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 just like that. Pancaking on top of each other. Then we ran down to the lobby, got outside as the whole thing started coming down.
Did you tell about these explosions, underground explosions, to the 9/11 Commission?
Yeah, you bet I did. And the other guys did too.
How come it's not in the book?
Well, our testimony was not allowed to be included in the final report.
Why not? The firefighters were the first ones to arrive and the last ones to leave. You guys eyewitnessed the whole thing.
Like I said, our testimony was not released to the public. Maybe you should ask the commission.
Yeah, I tried. They don't want to talk with me.
Wait a minute. You had people telling you, firefighters telling you, they heard charges go off under the goddamn building.
You want to tell people those buildings collapsed because of some underground explosions? That's not what people watched on television, man. You want to take on the myth? You got to have some evidence. You got to have facts.
Then go check out Building 7. I'm telling you where to go next. Isn't that why you dragged me here?
Listen, I appreciate what you're doing, okay? I could not do this without you. You know that. But I have to deal with things that people remember, like the towers, like the Pentagon.
How about the commission refusing to include the firefighters' testimony? You gonna dismiss that?
No, that's good stuff. That's going in. Do you have anything on the towers? I mean, before they collapsed.
There's a guy named Alonzo. He worked at a bank in one of the towers. He knows something about a power outage that affected security.
See, I like that. Thank you. I can work with that.
Weekend of September 8th and 9th. I was working in the South Tower. Our database, mostly. An investment bank. Very high net. Port Authority gave us notice they were going to cut our power. They were going to upgrade network bandwidth for WTC computers. So what happened was, basically, by cutting power, they rendered all the security cameras inoperative. I mean, not only security cameras, all security systems, including ID checks, down for the weekend.
But you're not sure this was also true on Tuesday the 11th?
No, I'm not, but they had people coming and going. They called them engineers. In and out of the tower all weekend long.
Port Authority had people with no IDs walking in and out of the towers 2 days before the attack?
Yeah, the engineers had all access. God damn it! Told them not to put onions in this thing.
You're not afraid to go on record with this, Mr. Alonso?
No, I'm not afraid. I don't give a damn if I lose my job over it. I was there. On that weekend, I saw those people and I saw what happened Tuesday. I know there's got to be a connection. I'll tell you one more thing. You ought to go and look up a place called Securisec. You look those guys up good. You'll get some answers.
Securosec?
Securisec provided security for World Trade Center. You go and look them up.
Securisec, right here. Client list.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. This is bad. Any way you look at it, it's bad. Here. This is the World Trade Center. Here are the 2 hijacked United Airlines planes. And here's the Dallas International Airport from which the plane that hit the Pentagon took off. And here is Securisec, providing security to all 3. I can't believe there is no mention of Securisec in the 9/11 report.
Holy shit.
What?
Holy mother of God.
What?
Well, you have your answer why Securisec is not mentioned in the report. Look who's on the board of directors.
Now we're getting somewhere.
We did provide security for the Dulles International Airport, World Trade Center, United Airlines, as well as to 100 other sensitive locations. We have an ongoing security contract with the Department of Defense. Now, I don't understand why you focus on these so selectively.
Don't you find it at least a bit coincidental that 2 of the hijacked planes, 1 of the airports, and 1 target were all your clients? I mean, what are the odds for that?
We're not in the business of odds, Mr.
Prokop, Alex Prokop.
Mr. Prokop, we're a large company. On any given day, if something goes wrong in this country, the odds are something, as you put it, will have gone wrong for 1 or more of our clients. This is the business we're in.
But would you consider what happened on September the 11th a huge lapse in security on your part?
Mr. Prokop, I am a PR person. My job is to make sure people want to do business with us, not to scare them away.
Has there been an investigation into the connection between Securisec and the attacks?
No. Why would there be an investigation?
We're going around in circles, aren't we?
Well, you're the one who's doing the driving.
Okay. The President of the United States' brother was on Securisec's board of directors.
You are casting a wide net here, Mr. Prokop. The President's brother left the company a year before the attack, as you well know. So, why would there be an investigation?
far as I know, every piece of scrap metal from the WTC came to 4 yards here in Jersey. We're the biggest yard, so I guess we got the bulk of it.
So you had the FEMA and the FBI going through the debris right here?
Oh, no. They wanted to do some investigation right there on site. Then when they shipped it here, they told us not to have anybody touch it. And they saved about 150 pieces for independent investigators. But that was nothing. Maybe 0.5% of the whole thing.
150 pieces out of like 100,000 tons. What happened to the rest of it?
We put it on barges and shipped it off.
Where to?
I think China got the bulk of it.
China? You shipped all the evidence from the biggest crime scene in U.S. history off to China?
What evidence are you talking about? It was scrap, all scrap, barges of scrap. Scrap metal is Jersey's biggest export. That's why we call it the junk state.
Why would China want the WTC scrap?
They make Coca-Cola cans out of it or something.
What do you think people would make of this? Drinking soda pop out of World Trade Center scrap? It boggles my mind that nobody cares about this stuff. What are you scribbling in there?
Little checklist. Here. 1. Underground explosions in the Twin Towers precipitating the collapse. 2. President's family provides security for objects of the attack, no investigations. 3. Tampering with evidence from a crime scene.
Easy now, big guy. So far we got nothing more than a series of coincidences.
Tampering with evidence is a federal offense. Okay, what kind of government is breaking its own laws? It makes the terrorists look like patsies in some much larger game. Exporting evidence to China? Jesus Christ, you couldn't make this shit up.
Okay. I need to find something about those buildings. What kind of a structure they had, what kind of a design they had, anything.
Well, Professor James Ballard is the man to talk to. He teaches structural design at Cooper Union, an expert in steel beam high-rises. He's building a summer house in Hudson Valley right now.
And you know this because...
Because I'm the man.
No, really. How do you know this?
He has the best website on steel beam construction. I used it in my research.
The World Trade Center was the most advanced structure of its time. They weren't just building enormous skyscrapers. They were erecting monuments to the ingenuity of the human mind. Each tower was specifically designed to withstand extreme wind pressures, as well as the impact of the largest passenger airplane at the time, a Boeing 707.
767 is a larger aircraft, and faster.
But not by much. And all the calculations still hold true, since the engineers overestimated a potential impact.
What about the burning jet fuel?
Well, jet fuel burns at 800 degrees Fahrenheit. Critical temperatures for steel is 3 times that amount. And it would take hours and hours of critical temperatures to even cause steel to bend. And even then, it doesn't shatter to pieces like we saw on September 11th. It might sag or bend, but not crumble. No steel frame building has ever collapsed due to a fire until September the 11th.
So the jet fuel from those planes could not have damaged the hollow steel shaft?
What hollow steel shaft?
The 9/11 report states that each of the Twin Towers had a hollow steel shaft at the center.
That's absolutely not true. Each tower had huge 47 steel beam cores, the largest and most durable in the world.
Kind of like this one?
Yeah. The report is simply downplaying the design of the building to support their own theory of the collapse. It's like saying that the body is held up by a bunch of veins, and never even mentioning the spine.
So the fuel fire could not have damaged the core.
It's a mathematical and physical improbability.
What about the impact of the plane itself?
The core and the external structure is like a mosquito net against the door. It's like mesh. You can puncture a hole in it, but the overall structure stands firm, solid overall. It's a beautiful design, way ahead of its time.
Professor Ballard, I have a thermal report here. It states that ground zero reached its highest temperatures on September 21st, 10 days later. How is this possible?
Yeah, I remember this. Temperatures exceeded 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Jet fuel burns off in about 15 minutes. And there's simply nothing in a modern building that could burn at such degrees, especially not after 10 days.
How do you account for this?
One plausible explanation is a thermite reaction.
What's a thermite reaction?
Thermite is an extremely powerful incendiary agent.
It produces extraordinary temperatures. It also can cause steel to break and shatter,
which is why it could be effectively
used in the controlled demolitions of tall buildings with steel cores.
You have two identical buildings hit by two identical airplanes, right?
Right.
But the second plane misses the core of the South Tower, basically just hits the corner. Most of the fuel explodes outside.
So the structural damage was quite different from the North Tower.
Exactly. Yet, the South Tower goes down first. It was hit later, its core remained intact, yet it goes down first. The North Tower, which suffered much different damage, collapses a half an hour later. What makes two identical structures with two radically different types of damage collapse in an identical way, in less than 2 hours, straight down into their own footprint?
Professor Ballard mentioned controlled demolition. But all evidence has been destroyed, so for anybody to suggest that the towers were controlled demolished is just pure speculation.
By the same token, to say that the buildings collapsed due to the airplanes is bullshit. Which is why you have to look at what happened to Building 7.
The 9/11 report doesn't say anything about the collapse of Building 7.
Mr. Pierce? Mr. Pierce? Mr. Pierce?
You two alone?
Yes.
I don't have a lot of time.
Mr. Pierce, could you come out of the shadow? We can't even see your face.
What I'm about to tell you must, and I repeat, must be dealt with in utmost secrecy. You understand?
I understand.
Yes, I understand.
There's a vast conspiracy going on right under our nose. It's huge. It's so huge. It's gigantic.
Could you please get to the point?
9/11 didn't happen the way we were told. It was a military operation involving state-of-the-art technology, holographic technology. They had remote-controlled missiles covered with holographic screens, and they projected images of passenger planes onto the missiles.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce, but we've already looked into the holograph issue, and I just don't think it's going to work for us at this point. I'm sorry we've wasted your time.
Thank you.
Don't you think there's technology for this? It goes back to World War II. Jack Kennedy's older brother died in a plane crash with a remote-controlled drone. He couldn't see it because it was invisible. It had a holograph of sky over it.
Next time you get a really hot tip, please verify your source before you drag me into it, okay?
Sorry, Alex. Okay, the guy sounded legit. He's been calling me for weeks.
How did he get your number?
I don't know. Victims Family Services, maybe? He wouldn't tell me what he had, just that he was Defense Department, he was an insider. He sounded like a completely different person on the phone.
By the time I'm done with this article, this is exactly what people will think of me, a complete lunatic.
That or you'll get a Pulitzer Prize.
Good afternoon, Miss McGuire. I'm Agent Abbott of the FBI. This is Junior Agent Hill.
Agent Abbott, Junior. What took you guys so long? Please, have a seat on the couch.
We have information that one of your reporters is working on an article pertinent to the 9/11 events.
I guess it's pertinent enough for the FBI to pay me a visit.
We are conducting an internal investigation into intelligence failure of 9/11. We'd like to cross-reference your sources with our database.
And make sure no compromising information is being released to the public.
Compromising? Compromising to whom?
To national security. Compromising to the current political climate.
No, I know. The climate is tough.
We are in the process of reorganizing our intelligence network. There are certain holes we'd like to patch up.
Why don't you talk to Alex Prokop? He's the writer.
We would prefer to avoid direct approach. We feel that it might be misconstrued as intimidation.
And how would you characterize this conversation?
An unofficial request for cooperation.
And if that fails?
We could issue a subpoena.
Ah. Yeah, during Vietnam, General Westmoreland sued the media over a report on distorted intelligence.
Did he win?
They settled.
Yes, they settled. But the story still ran.
It would only be sensible to postpone the publication until we get the facts verified.
15 years ago, I was writing an article on the vaccine the military was using during the Gulf War. I wrote that the vaccine was killing more soldiers than the enemy did. My editor got a phone call from the Department of Defense, and 10 minutes later, I didn't have a story. The veterans are still dying, and their children are being born with 7 fingers. Mr. Prokop's article is coming out in 2 weeks. I'll be happy to send you a complimentary copy. Good day, gentlemen.
Well, Professor Ballard was correct. No steel frame building has ever collapsed due to a fire, not until the WTC-7 went down on September the 11th.
That's right. Now, look at this. Building 7 had very small fires going on lower floors, very little structural damage, no airplane impact, nothing. Okay? And yet, somehow, 7 hours after the second tower came down, Building 7 goes, zoom all the way down, straight like an arrow, shredded to pieces, steel beams and all.
Can you play this again for me?
Look at this. Do you really believe a small fire could cause this perfect collapse?
I don't know what to believe.
Well, anyway, we gotta run. We have a show to catch.
What show?
We'd like to see a PBS documentary from 2002 called America Rebuilds.
Oh, that's one of our blockbusters. Do you want to watch the whole thing, or should I just cue it from the money shot?
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life, maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and we watched the building collapse.
Pull it? Can you back this up to the moment where he says pull it?
And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life, maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it.
Am I crazy, or did I just hear the owner of the World Trade Center saying he controlled demolished Building 7?
I told you it was a blockbuster.
Pull a building could mean a lot of things. When you separate a structure from a section from a structure, you pull it. When you say you take down a railing from a bridge with cables, you pull it. When
But you could also say pull it when you mean to bring the whole building down, right?
Oh, I suppose, yes, you could.
According to public records, the tallest building you ever demolished was the Detroit Central Store, which stood at 450 feet tall.
We were quite proud of that.
It took you 3 months to investigate the site, plus another 4 months to prepare plans for demolition. That's 7 months right there. On top of that, it took you 3 weeks to place the explosives. Is that accurate?
Well, it takes an enormous amount of planning to bring a building of that size down. You can watch it on our website. It's quite a spectacle.
Yes, I have. The building collapses straight down into its own footprint without any damage to the surrounding structures.
You can say that's our trademark.
Is it possible someone could have rigged the 47-story Building 7 with explosives in 10 hours?
That would be rather difficult.
It wouldn't just be difficult, it would be technically impossible, right?
To rig Building 7 in 1 day and pull it? Yes, it'd be impossible.
What do you mean by pull it?
I mean to bring it down.
I'm glad we agree on this one, Mr. Mingus. There's one last thing. When the government contracted you for the cleanup of Ground Zero after 9/11, it took you just 10 days to submit your plans, and then you just started digging in. How can you do that so fast? I mean, weren't you concerned not just about the human remains, but about destroying evidence?
Mr. Prokop, I don't think I like what you're implying here. I think it's time for you to leave.
Hi, Berman. Yeah, I can talk. No, I've been away for a while. Yeah, I took a little vacation. Doing the nature thing. Colorado? Yeah, a few miles up from Boulder. You wouldn't believe the weather, man. I'm out biking every day. No, by myself. Just needed some time to think. What's up? The judge did what? Okay, listen, Berman. It has been 2 years and we have not gotten anywhere. Maybe it's time to change our strategy. Maybe we should be getting some publicity. I'm not going to jeopardize anything. This is not just about my family anymore, okay? It is about what they've done to our country. I wish you could understand that.
Ms. Bauer, I just watched a PBS documentary in which Mr. Silverstein admits he asked the New York Fire Department to pull Building 7. And I just spoke with a demolition expert.
The phrasing of that remark misled so many people. I'm sorry you're one of them. Mr. Silverstein said, and I quote, "We've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it," end quote. Mr. Silverstein recently went on record to clarify what he meant. By pull it, he meant to pull out the contingent of firefighters, to pull the operation out of the building to prevent more casualties.
Yes, I have seen that clarification too. However, according to the government, and I quote, "There was no firefighting in WTC 7, end quote. So let's reiterate, shall we? If there were no firefighters in Building 7, why did Mr. Silverstein ask him to leave? Someone here is not telling the truth. Is it the government or is it Mr. Silverstein?
Mr. Prokop, I'll be happy to direct you to one of our lawyers. He'll be happy to collect.
Yes, I know. You have a very persuasive team of lawyers. Is it the same team that sued the insurers of the buildings? They managed to convince the Supreme Court that Twin Towers constituted of 2 separate terrorist attacks, 1 for each tower? So, in the end, Mr. Silverstein collected 2 insurance payments instead of 1. What was it? $5 billion? That's a pretty hefty chunk of change for a property he'd bought only 7 weeks earlier for $3.2 billion.
Thank you for visiting, Mr. Prokop. I wish I could say it had been a pleasure.
Thank you for your time, Ms. Bauer. Have a good day.
Building 7 had to be rigged for demolition in advance. There is no other explanation. And by extension, so were the Twin Towers. The symmetrical way they collapsed, the shredding of steel, pulverized concrete, the speed of collapse, which was close to free fall. All of these are trademarks of controlled demolition.
But the Science magazine said that the building collapsed because one of the load-bearing corner pillars caved in.
Then the building would have toppled to one side. Okay, it would have been a partial asymmetrical collapse, but you saw it go down with both sides perfectly parallel. There's no sign of one side pulling the building down.
Listen, before I tell the world the building was controlled demolished by its owner, I gotta have some solid evidence, okay? Silverstein's confession on film is as close as I'm gonna get, but they put so much spin on that it may not amount to much.
All the evidence was destroyed by the government, so the only thing you can do is find out what purpose a demolition of the building would serve, right? Listen, I could use a day off. I gotta take a trip upstate. My ex-wife lives a couple of hours north. It's her hometown. My daughter's buried there.
Take as much time as you need.
I didn't know you got married.
I didn't. What are you gonna do? How's your wife? Still messing with those lab rats?
She split.
What are you gonna do? You got balls, Alex. I should have followed up on that story. I don't know why I didn't. I mean, there was pressure from the top. I just had the kid. I don't know. Kid's always a convenient excuse.
You're the only one who's ever written about Building 7. You know, until recently I didn't realize how difficult it is for us to say something different about that day. So you're the one with balls, Corley.
Yeah, well, Building 7's just the tip of the iceberg, man. You should have followed up.
Don't beat yourself over the head, you did enough. Listen, in your piece you said that the CIA had secret headquarters in Building 7, but that was just a front for another government agency. What was the other agency, Corley?
If the CIA asked me not to divulge it in the article, what makes you think I'm going to tell you?
What about the mayor's emergency office? What floor was it on?
You mean the bunker? The mayor's bunker? They had bulletproof windows on the 23rd floor. Who the fuck is going to be shooting up the 23rd floor? The windows were designed to resist winds of up to 200 miles per hour. They had a perfect view of both towers. This was no emergency management office. This was a command post, a command center for some major operation.
Like September the 11th? Are you saying they were running the show from the mayor's emergency office? Come on.
Building 7 got orders to evacuate before both towers did. Civilians were all gone before the South Tower even got hit. So who's left? The CIA, the FBI, and the Secret Service. They all had their offices there. The mayor couldn't even get in his bunker. He had to set up a makeshift command post down at the end of the block. So who was there? You had these G-men all morning running around, watching the destruction of the two towers on the 23rd floor behind their bulletproof glass. What were they doing? Enjoying the show? Once the towers went down, they left. 7 hours later, Building 7 was a crumble of dust. You chew on that. When you finish swallowing, you let me know, Alex. Now, if you excuse me, I got a little monkey with a wet ass. You take care of yourself, and don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Thanks, Corley.
You know, I picked up yoga again. It's really helping.
Paul, you promised me you were going to put this to rest. If you don't care about me, then you should do it for your own sake.
Whenever you call me Paul, I know I'm in trouble. It's different this time, Maggie. We're getting really close.
You were close last year. And the year before. Paul, I know that you can't accept that September was a tragedy. I mean, it was what it was. But I can, okay? So every time you call here on her birthday, every time you come here and you tell me how old she would have been and how she had every right to live.
She did.
Like I don't know that. No, I don't want to hear it, okay? I don't like hearing it. I don't want to hear it, Paul. I don't want to hear it.
Remember in the beginning when we used to wake up, think that it didn't really happen. Sarah was still at school, she was still coming home. Because we never got to see her body. So if you never see the body, you can never really be sure. I did get over that. I did. I know Sarah's gone. And you know how I did it? By finding out everything I could about that day. By reading, researching, and asking questions. It's not just about Sarah anymore. It's bigger than me, and you, and Sarah, and all the other families. It's about much larger things.
Nothing is larger than my child.
I don't have a story, Cooper. I can't prove any of this is real. Hey, Jonas, what's up? They're saying what? I have no idea what this is about. This is ridiculous. No, that's right. I have no idea, man. Okay, I'll talk to you when I get back. Yeah, a week or so, thanks. Jesus Christ.
What happened?
That was my lawyer. Someone is suing me for plagiarism. They say I plagiarized their book.
Did you?
Listen, I don't have a story here. Do you understand? I can't offer my opinion. It's not an editorial. Without something linking all the coincidences, I got precisely nothing.
Nothing? You got the president's family involved. You have firefighter testimony of explosions below the buildings and controlled demolition.
It's he said, she said, Cooper. Nobody's gonna buy my take on this because I'm an outsider, I'm an immigrant. I don't have the right to say these things. Okay? America's been good to me all these years, and now I'm gonna bite its hand? I'm gonna rip the fucking arm? I don't think I want to do that, Cooper. Not like this.
Wait a minute. You have as much right as anyone. And maybe more reason. What do you think it means to be an American? You know? Now forget being a journalist, okay? This is your country now. You took an oath, right? Well, if the truth is somehow unavailable, we have to find out where it is and expose it. Otherwise, we may as well roll over and fall asleep. And the next thing you know, we will be living back in your Soviet Russia.
What is it with you people? Everybody keeps telling me America's turning into the next Soviet Union. Come on, man, get real. Where are the gulags?
What about Guantanamo Bay?
Yeah.
There's a lot of poor bastards down there right now since 9/11, rotting their guts out without due process. Come on. Let's go. There's something I want to show you.
What?
Come on. You know what this is?
I've never seen this statue before, but I know all about cotton.
What do you know about cotton?
When the Nazis invaded Poland from the west in 1939, The Soviets took that opportunity and attacked Poland from the east. We put thousands in concentration camps and killed most of them in places like Katyn.
You ever wonder why it is we never heard about that?
It was kept secret until the fall of communism.
Precisely. The historical fact was kept from the public for 50 years. Thousands of people died, were executed. This monument is here so that fact will not
I get your point, Cooper, I get it. You know, my father worked for the Office of Propaganda. It was part of his job to keep facts like Katyn away from the public. He had a huge archive.
Let's go to Washington, Alex. You'll have what you need to finish the article.
Here, the next batch. What's wrong?
Look, I'm sorry, but I just don't think this is making any sense.
What doesn't?
Alex's article.
Did you find something that doesn't check out?
No, everything checks out. I double-checked everything. I'm kind of anal about that.
I know that. That's why I put you on this job.
Well, you see, that's where the trouble is. Everything checks out.
And why would that be a problem?
Well, the problem is that what Alex is saying. I mean, what he's implying is that, well, it's that the terrorists were patsies, that the planes were just a decoy, and that this whole thing was planned way in advance by some secret government agency.
He is not saying anything like that. But the facts he is finding are suggesting that such a scenario is possible.
But that's just so far out there. Come on. The United States government planned 9/11. That's so outrageous. Nobody's gonna buy this.
You have a degree in political science, right?
Governmental studies.
Close enough. You remember that day in your history class when you learned about the Reichstag fire? And who did the Nazis blame the Reichstag fire on?
The communists.
Why?
To gain more power in the government.
Very well. How about the Gulf of Tonkin incident?
The Navy fabricated the attack on a U.S. warship and then blamed it on the Vietnamese.
And so we went to war with an innocent country. And we stayed there for 10 horrible years.
11.
See this gas station down here? It services only the Pentagon crowd. It's not open to the public. Look at the upper corner there, on the awning.
What, the security camera?
What direction is it pointing at?
The Pentagon.
Not just the Pentagon. It's the section that was hit on 9/11.
So they have it on tape. Who do we talk to?
Nobody. There is no tape. 5 minutes after the attack, the FBI shows up and takes the tape. No one's ever seen it. I mean, no one in public.
So why are we here?
We're here so that you know that whatever it was that hit the Pentagon is not what they say it is. See that hotel over there? Same thing. 5 minutes after the attack, FBI shows up, confiscates all tapes from hotel security. What are they hiding? Why haven't we seen the tape?
Here it is. The hardest, sturdiest, most impenetrable building in the country. What do we get? A passenger plane manages to fly 40 minutes undetected while the nation is under a terrorist attack and penetrate the most heavily guarded airspace on the planet.
Is there something you're not telling me?
What do you mean?
You know an awful lot about this whole operation. You know more than anybody I spoke to. You have access to files that are classified, and you probably know more about me than I know about myself. You're one hell of a researcher, Cooper, even for a grieving father. Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your guidance, you know that, but I just don't see how you could possibly...
What are you trying to say, Alex?
Who do you really work for?
What's the matter? Is Soviet paranoia getting to you?
You tell me.
Okay. There's a lawsuit. I and some of the other families who lost relatives on 9/11 filed a class action lawsuit. We hired a team of investigators, and basically what I've been giving you is from our findings.
Whom are you suing and for what, exactly?
We're suing the President of the United States, the Vice President, Attorney General, Secretary of Defense, National Security Advisor, and the Director of the CIA. We're suing them for the murder of my daughter and every person who died on 9/11.
You're suing the United States government for perpetrating 9/11?
Technically, for failing to act and prevent the murders, yes. We're suing them under the RICO Act.
Isn't that for mobsters?
Yeah. Alex, I didn't tell you about this because I can't have the lawsuit mentioned in the article. My lawyers believe it will jeopardize our case.
So basically, you're using me to win your lawsuit.
Oh, come on. You could have said no. Yes, I'm using you. I'm using you because there's no court in this country that will take this case. At least not for a very long time. We need exposure. We need you to bring this story out into the open.
And then what?
The Pentagon itself has hundreds of security cameras pointing in every possible direction. Hundreds, outside and inside. So how come, with all this surveillance, with all these cameras, what we get is this shit? That's all they release to the public, man. 5 lousy frames. This is exactly what fuels conspiracy theories, the secrecy that they're creating.
Now listen to this. This is about the pilot who flew into the Pentagon, Hanjour. He wanted to train on multi-engine planes but had difficulties because of his poor English. And then this. An instructor found his work well below standard and discouraged him from continuing. It goes on and on. Poor piloting skills. His instructor described him as a terrible pilot. All this is in the report. And then we have this little contradiction. As a former pilot, the president was struck by the apparent sophistication of the operation and some of the piloting, especially Hanjour's high-speed dive into the Pentagon.
Yeah.
It's like the book says. Hanjour, the one I trained, was a terrible pilot. I don't think he could even drive a car.
He barely spoke English, barely. So it was really hard for the tower to understand what the hell he was saying. He didn't understand half of what I was saying, sitting right next to me.
But the report says that Hanjour was the most experienced pilot in the group. His skills impressed even the president.
Well, I said it on record before. Hanjour, the one I trained, was a lousy pilot. I wouldn't trust him with a kite.
Can I ask you something, Miss Koenig?
Of course.
In your opinion as a pilot,
Mm-hmm.
could someone who has never flown a jet plane before perform this maneuver? This is the Pentagon, right?
Mm-hmm.
The plane comes in like this, flies right over the Secretary of Defense office, then makes a very sudden, sharp, and steep 330-degree turn. Flies 12 feet off of the ground for half a mile, 12 feet, and rams the very section of the Pentagon that is under renovation.
Most likely, a maneuver like this would put the plane into a tailspin or a high-speed stall. The altitude drop is much too quick for an airliner. It would be extremely risky, even for an aerobatic pilot. For Hanjour, it's a 1 in a million chance. It would have to be a fluke.
There is just too much luck involved in this scenario, okay? No air defense, no scrambled jets to intercept you, and a miraculous maneuver by a lousy pilot.
What about that renovation thing you said?
That too, okay? The section of the Pentagon that was hit was under renovation, which is why so few people died, okay? Out of all the sections, the plane manages to go right through the one that's empty. A direct bullseye. What are the odds of that?
Why is the entry hole so tiny? I mean, this is 16 feet wide if you compare it to the figure of the fireman, but the Science magazine said the entry hole was 75 feet wide. Honestly, I don't see that.
I don't know what was in this renovated section, but after the crash, nobody could find the plane inside or outside. It vaporized, okay? I mean, give or take a few pieces that the agents were hauling around with their bare hands like props.
Well, the official version was that the plane was virtually liquefied as it went in. That's why the debris is so hard to find. But somehow, they managed to identify most of the passenger DNA.
If the plane resembled liquid, what punctured the exit hole? Okay, a ball of hot plane juice?
Well, the Science magazine explained that the exit hole was caused by one of the landing gears going through at a great speed.
Okay, so the plane resembles liquid, except for the landing gear, which manages to punch through 6 walls of reinforced concrete, makes a 12-foot exit hole, which is almost as big as the entry hole for the entire plane. That's one nasty landing gear, all right.
Yeah, okay. Enough with the sarcasm, Cooper. It doesn't take us anywhere. Maybe it was a plane, maybe it wasn't. Maybe a missile hit the Pentagon. We don't know. But we still have 4 hijacked airplanes to account for. All these people died.
Yes, they did.
Well, maybe we should really look into what exactly happened to those flights, okay?
Good. Let's talk to the FAA.
No. I want to talk to NORAD. Thank you for meeting me here on short notice, Major Fredericks.
It's a pleasure, sir. We at NORAD are always forthcoming with the press. There's been a lot of confusion regarding our role on that tragic day. As you know, we rely heavily on the Federal Aviation Administration to provide us with data on runaway planes. Here is our updated timeline of communications with the FAA on 9/11. As you can see, there are long gaps between the moment they lost contact with the 4 planes the moment they contacted us. To put it quite simply, their response time was negligent.
Well, frankly, Major Fredericks, I'm not really interested in blaming the FAA for the failure of 9/11.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to quit smoking.
Would you mind taking a look at this, please? The squares obviously are the cities under attack, New York and Washington, D.C. The circles are Air Force bases with planes on alert. All these bases are part of the Northeast Seaboard Defense System. They're all under NORAD's command. Is this map accurate, Major?
Yes, these are our bases.
I'm glad you agree. I got this from NORAD's website. Well, NORAD put fighter planes on alert 67 times in the year preceding 9/11. Clearly the system worked. Once you notice a plane went off its course, you scrambled your fighters. 67 times in 1 year.
It's a foolproof system.
Well, apparently you underestimated your fools on 9/11. Somehow the first fighter planes were sent out 8 minutes after the North Tower was hit by Flight 11. And that plane was off its course for half an hour heading toward New York.
I told you the FAA failed to communicate
No, Major. Even with the FAA being unusually slow in notifying you, you still had time to intercept the other 3 flights. Take the Pentagon strike. Why the hell didn't you order your fighters from Andrews? It's right here, 10 miles away. They would be there right after takeoff. You have 2 confirmed terrorist attacks on New York City and you don't even attempt to protect the White House or the Capitol?
We scrambled our jets from Langley.
That's 130 miles away. Besides, those planes were flying at 25% of their top speed. What the hell is going on, Major?
Mr. Prokop, why are you really talking to me? You have an answer for every question you ask. I am not going to sit here and listen to you attacking NORAD. We are not the fall guy here. On September the 11th, NORAD was conducting war games. We were training for a possible terrorist attack. Yes, I know this sounds suspicious to you, but trust me, this was just pure coincidence. A very tragic coincidence.
You guys must have been having a lot of fun that day. Everybody was playing games. First you had FEMA setting up a terror emergency game in Lower Manhattan. Very convenient. Then you had the Air Force running their own war game involving a hijacked airplane. And then there is the CIA running a drill on a jet plane crashing into an office building 4 miles from the Pentagon. All of this on the morning of 9/11. And then there's you guys at NORAD playing checkers, tracking Santa Claus. How many games is that, Major? 4 on a single day?
There was a lot of confusion that day. When the emergency calls came in, no one knew whether it was part of the game or part of real life. It was tragic, but I repeat, it was pure coincidence.
No bookie in Vegas would take odds on this, Major. Somehow I still don't believe you actually failed. I don't believe the greatest air power in the world could fail so miserably and so conveniently 4 times on a single day without someone giving an order to fail.
You're beating around the bush, Alex. It's nice to see you debunk the commission report, but that's not enough. You forget to ask the essential question. Who benefits from the attacks? You gotta say that, man. Not just imply it, simply say it. Why are you so afraid to say the government set this up as a new Pearl Harbor? Because that's what it was. The best case scenario is they allowed it to happen. The worst case scenario is they fucking masterminded it. It goes all the way to the top, and you have to show they had motive.
I'm not a lawyer, Cooper. I'm not gonna win your court case for you, okay? I report
Facts. If these facts help to bring some people to justice, great. If not, fine. I'm still just dishing out the facts.
Use the facts as evidence. Jesus H. Christ. There's more than enough evidence to show a government conspiracy to murder American citizens. It boils down to just a handful of people in charge. Look, you've heard of the Project for the New American Century.
I have, so what about it?
Well, back in 2000, in their manifesto, these neoconservative lunatics wrote that a new Pearl Harbor would help galvanize public support for more military spending and economic expansion into Asian and Middle Eastern markets. We're talking military-backed expansion, a war, Alex. A congressional industrial military complex whose sole mission is to secure America's dominance in the next century. Global dominance.
Okay. Who exactly is behind this New American Century project?
More than half the president's staff. The same people named in this lawsuit. All signatory.
What about the president himself?
The president doesn't matter. Not with a cabinet like this around him, not with this Machiavellian vice president. On 9/11, the vice president was the acting commander-in-chief. Okay, he was in charge of all the federal agencies involved in the attacks. He called the shots. NORAD, FEMA, Department of Defense, you name it.
Stop. Stop right there. I can't beat people over the head with this hypothesis, okay? I have no room for speculation here, man. When people read this article carefully, a fuller picture will emerge.
That's a fucking cop-out. No picture will emerge unless you paint it for them.
I'm not gonna turn my article into a piece of propaganda for you, Cooper. Yes, facts were suppressed. Yes, evidence was destroyed and testimonies ignored, but I can't accuse the government without direct proof. I can only imply. Listen, my piece is coming out in 24 hours as it is, unless you give me something that proves what you're saying is true.
What if I can get you to someone on the inside?
Inside of what?
I just got a call from the publisher, and they will not run this story in the next issue, so it has to be now, before the masthead change.
You really need more time.
I can't push the print date another day, so this is it. Besides, there's nothing wrong with this story. It's making everybody cringe, which is always good.
Listen, I'm about to talk to an FBI agent.
How did you get the FBI to talk?
Long story. I need an extra day.
But get something tangible.
Okay, McGuire, I really need more time.
Fine. 12 hours. If it's not on my desk in the morning, we're running it the way we have it now, whether you like it or not.
I'll have it tomorrow by 9. Okay. Jeez. How did you find this Agent Bennett anyway?
She found us. Her testimony is one of the strongest points in the case. She's really putting her ass on the line.
And the FBI is letting her talk, just like that?
Only because the 9/11 Commission asked her to testify for the report.
I don't recall reading any testimonies from her in the book.
That's because they didn't like what she had to say. Alex, she's the key witness in our lawsuit. My lawyer would kill me if he found out I was letting you talk to her. You cannot reveal this source. Do you understand?
The British MI5, the Germans, Jordanians, Moroccan intelligence, even the Mossad warned us about large-scale attacks, imminent attacks on American soil. In late August and early September, the Russians warned us twice about terrorist pilots training to crash airplanes into specific targets in the U.S.
Why weren't these warnings taken seriously?
Oh, they were. Well, everybody, including the 9/11 report, is saying that there was a failure of intelligence prior to 9/11. There wasn't. We did our job right. I mean, we do have the best intelligence in the world. The problem is that once that information gets passed on to the upper echelon, it becomes a tool. It becomes a political commodity.
Ms. Bennett, is there a proof of suppressed communication between the street agents and the
But
headquarters?
that's not the real problem. The real problem is that even with all of this confusion, the information still got to the White House and they didn't do anything about it.
Are you saying that the ultimate decision to suppress all intelligence came from the president?
Well, there were several memos going directly to the White House warning about the attacks. I mean, nobody knew exactly when or how, but we all knew something was going to happen.
Are there any copies of any of the memos that the FBI sent to the president?
Well, there were several memos, but the last one, the one you want, was dated August 6th.
You wouldn't happen to have it in your files, would you?
Oh, Mr. Cooper should have a copy in his documents. It was part of my
I
deposition.
can't get it. My lawyer does not know I'm speaking with you.
I have a copy of it in my files.
Would it be possible to get a hard copy by tomorrow morning, say 7 a.m.?
7 a.m.
Alex has a deadline.
I'll have a courier send it to your hotel.
I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I ask you something else, Agent Bennett?
Yes?
The president and the national security advisor said that nobody could have predicted the planes being used as weapons in such fashion on September the 11th. Knowing what you know, this is an outright lie, isn't it?
I'll tell you this much, Mr. Prokop. In August 2000, the Pentagon carried out an emergency drill of a hijacked airliner crashing into the building. I mean, the place was such an obvious target, they used to call the Pentagon America's bullseye. Even had a snack bar in the central courtyard called Ground Zero.
But even NORAD insists they were taken by surprise.
This is a NORAD training manual on terrorist emergency. Look at the page next to the last, the hijack scenario.
Jesus Christ.
When did this come out?
June 2001. Like I said, everybody knew the attacks were imminent and specific. Anyone who tells you otherwise, they lie. There was no failure of intelligence on 9/11. There was a deliberate failure to act.
So, are we done?
We're done.
How do you feel?
I'm tired.
There you go, Ms. McGuire.
Good evening. Welcome to Fairfax America. Jack Mahoney here. Now, you know, the last thing I want to do is give a bunch of free publicity to idiots, but this time it's different. This time it's personal. The Sentinel. This time they've gone over the edge, and I'm talking about the September the 11th article. It was just released a couple of days ago. It created a huge controversy in the media. Well, we did a little investigating on our own, and it turns out Alex Prokop, who authored the article and has been on this show before, has just gone off the deep end. So we're calling in our noted expert on such matters, Dr. Benjamin Katz, the author of the definitive JFK assassination book, The Lone Gun. Dr. Katz, thank you for coming on Fairfax once again. What do you make of this Sentinel article?
Well, Jack, this is really an example of irresponsible journalism at its worst. This is right up there with the Holocaust denials and the moon landing conspiracy theories. 9/11 is a day of infamy in American history, a national tragedy. Now, to be fair, the Sentinel article raises questions that we all have, including you, about those events. But rather than focus on the evidence provided to us by the 9/11 Commission, they go after minor players, so-called experts no one's ever heard of, cave dwellers, essentially, to match their theories to a hearsay.
And we found out that the August the 6th memo, this infamous memo, is simply a forgery? Is that right?
That's correct, Jack. The White House was very upset over that one, justifiably so. In fact, they're now suing the Sentinel for defamation.
So then it wouldn't be much of a stretch to assume that most of the reporting in the article is simply false.
When the key evidence they present is based on forgery, you can safely dismiss the rest of it as bunk. You know what the trouble is with conspiracy theorists, Jack? They can't accept the fact that large things can have very simple explanations.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Prokop declined our request for an interview. No surprise there, but we do have Ms. Georgia McGuire, the former editor of the Sentinel, who commissioned the article, with us. She's live from Los Angeles. Ms. McGuire, thanks for coming on Fairfax. How do you feel about all this?
I feel the witch hunt has begun. I don't know how you can dismiss the entire article because of one memo.
Because it was a fake.
Well, the memo came to us late in the game and there was no time to verify it. That doesn't change the fact that what it says is true. If you compare it to White House records, which the Sentinel's lawyers just did, it says the same thing. The administration knew the attacks were imminent.
Memo? You know, I once got a memo that said Princess Diana didn't die in the car crash.
Is this a news show or a comedy act, Mr.
Look,
Mahoney?
Alex Prokop is being sued for plagiarism in relation to his most recent book. Now, do you, or more correctly, should I say, did you used to hand out the toughest assignments at the Sentinel to plagiarists, Ms. McGuire?
Alex Prokop is not a plagiarist. The lawsuit is simply part of a defamation strategy, and whoever faxed us that memo knew exactly what effect it would have. It's the most Rovian thing I've ever seen. We were simply set up.
Yeah, you know what your problem is, lady? You can't handle defeat. Now, the story's a bunch of bull. Just go ahead, admit it.
Why are you so afraid to talk about the facts?
Well, because there aren't any facts. Don't tell me about facts. This is a bunch of crap. Now, you're legitimizing it, and you're calling it investigative journalism.
Maybe you should just let your viewers decide instead of feeding them your opinion.
Well, I'll give you my opinion right now. Shut up!
Don't you tell me to shut up. When you were doing traffic reports in Akron, Ohio, I was dodging bullets in Beirut.
Come on, cut her mic. That's
Don't you
enough.
have a shred of decency?
Cut her mic! Thank you. You know, when someone comes to your house and spits on your floor, you throw them out. Now, Ben, I don't know if they're just naive or simply stupid, but in my humble opinion, they do just as much damage as the terrorists.
The more nonsense comes out in the press, the harder it will be to find the ultimate truth. But the core facts are unassailable. 19 hijackers crashed 4 planes that day. Nothing will ever change that fact.
You're absolutely right. Certainly not a second-rate journalist like Alex Prokop, whose only book, as it turns out, is a plagiary. Mr. Prokop, I have this to say to you. Go back to Russia. We'll pay for your ticket. Thank you, Benjamin Katz, once again for your expertise. Hope to see you soon.
Pleasure as always, Jack.
This is Jack Mahoney. The program you've been watching is Fairfax, where you, the viewer, can make up your own mind. Good night.
Berman,
Why did you hire me in the first place? To win your lawsuit. Did I tell you not to get involved with the press? Yes, I did. And where are we now? Precisely nowhere. We're not even back to square one. There are no squares. You blew it, Cooper. You blew it for yourself, and you blew it for all those other families. And thanks to you, my firm is now under review. So please, spare me any patriotic nonsense because it's over. We had a chance. A tiny chance, but we had a chance to see this lawsuit go through, and now there's no chance. So goodbye and good luck. You know what? Not even I care anymore who was really behind 9/11. If 9/11 didn't exist, they'd have to create one. And maybe they did. And maybe we all did. But it doesn't make any difference now, does it?
Alex? Come on, I know you're in there. Open up. This is far from over, man. It's only just beginning. Don't you know that? Come on, first they laugh at you, then they fear you, then they attack you, and then you win. Alex. You can't quit on me now, Alex. You can't quit on me. You can write for other magazines. You know, we can do a blog. People have to know what the hell is going on here. Come on, Alex. You can write a whole new book. We'll publish it. We'll publish it ourselves. I need you, man. I can't do this alone. Okay? I have a new lead. It is solid this time, Alex. I swear to God, it is solid. You hear me? It is solid. Alex, I saw your car. God damn you, open up!